4.5 squares of binomials. When we do these, we're going to be doing them in two different ways. Same thing that we did when we did the last lesson for 4.4. You want to write these as trinomials, and then you want to factor them. Okay, so if we look at example 1, we're told to write each square as a trinomial. So we're going to first start by identifying our a and our b. Our a is the first term in the binomial, which is at x. Our b is that second term in the binomial, which is the 3. We are then going to use the formula because there's a positive here. A squared plus 2 times a times b plus b squared. Fill in. We're going to have x raised to the second power plus 2 times x times 3 plus 3 raised to the second power. So when we simplify this, we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. And that is our trinomial. If we look at example B, we have 7x minus 3 raised to the second power. So this one's a little different because we have that minus in between the two terms. We can pull out our a, which is 7x. We can identify our b, which is 3. Because there's a negative here, we're going to use a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared. So again, fill in. We're going to have 7x raised to the second power minus 2 times 7x times 3 plus 3 raised to the second power. So simplify this. That 7x raised to the second power is 49x squared. The negative 2 times 7x is negative 14x. Negative 14x times 3 is negative 42x. And then we have that 3 squared, which is a positive 9. So 49x squared minus 42x plus 9. For C, we have 4x minus 5y raised to the second power. So our a from this is the 4x. Our b is the 5y. Because there's that negative there, we're going to use a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared. So we're going to fill in. We have 4x raised to the second power minus 2 times 4x times 5y plus 5y raised to the second power. So the 4x raised to the second power is 16x squared. The negative 2 times 4x is 8x. Then, negative 8x. Negative 8x times 5 is a negative 40x. And then keep the y too. And then we have that 5y raised to the second power, which is a positive 25y squared. So 16x squared minus 40xy plus 25y squared. For D, we have 3p squared minus 2q squared raised to the second power. So our a is the 3p squared. Our b is the 2q squared. Because there's the negative there, we're going to use a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared. So substitute in. We have 3p squared raised to the second power minus 2 times 3p squared times 2q squared plus 2q squared raised to the second power. So simplify this. The 3p squared raised to the second power is 9p to the fourth. The negative 2 times 3p squared is negative 6p squared. Negative 6p squared times 2q squared is going to be negative 12p squared q squared. And then that 2q squared raised to the second power is going to be 4q to the fourth power. So 9p to the fourth power minus 12p squared q squared plus 4q to the fourth power. With the next part of our lesson, we are deciding if each trinomial is a perfect square, and if so, we are factoring it. So if we look at example 2a, we have 4x squared minus 20x plus 25. When we do this, we can find our a and our b by taking the square root of our first term and our last term. So as long as it's in the standard form, our a is going to be found by taking the square root of that 4x squared, which is 2x. And our b is found by taking the square root of that 25, which is 5. If we do a negative 2 times a times b, this should give us that negative 20x, so our middle term, that b term. So fill in, we're going to have negative 2 times 2x times 5. This should give us a negative 20x. So the negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. Negative 4x times 5 is a negative 20x. Because these are equal to each other, and we have a true statement, we can use the formula a, because there's a negative there, minus b raised to the second power. So if we do this, our a was 2x, our b was 5. So we're going to have 2x minus 5 in parentheses, and then raise it to the second power. For b, we have 64x squared plus 72xy plus 81y squared. So find your a by taking the square root of the 64x squared, which is 8x. Find your b by taking the square root of the 81y squared, which is 9y. And then use a positive 2 times a times b, and you should get the 72xy. So if we plug those in, we have 2 times 8x times 9y. We should get 72xy. So when we multiply this, the 2 times 8x is the 16x. Then 16x times 9y is going to give us a 144xy. And that is not equal to 72xy. So this is not a perfect square trinomial. If we look at our next example, C, we have 49a squared plus 28ab plus 4b squared. So find your a by doing the square root of the 49a squared, which is 2a. Find your b by doing the square root of the 4b squared, which is 2b. Then plug those in into your positive 2ab is equal to 28ab. Again, remember, you want to take the sign that's in front of that b term and keep it with the 2. So the 2 is either positive or negative based off of that sign in front of your b term. So if we plug these values in, we have 2 times 2a times 2b, and that should give us 28ab. Oh, 49. I'm sorry. This is a 49, which means this is a 7a. So this 2a should be a 7a. So we have 2 times 7a, which is 14a. 14a times 2b is 28ab. Because this is a true statement, we can use the formula a plus b squared. Because there's a positive there, we're going to use a positive in our formula. So we're going to plug our values in. A was 7a, b is 2b, and then we square it. So 7a plus 2b raised to the second power. For D, we have 9u squared plus 30uv plus 100v squared. So our a is the square root of the 9u squared, which is 3u. And our b is the square root of 100v squared, which is 10v. So if we use our positive 2 times a times b, it should give us 30uv. So 2 times 3u is 6u times 10v is not 30uv. That is 60uv, and that is not equal to 30uv. So this is not a true statement. This is not a perfect square trinomial.